Shall we do another comedy?
Yeah,
Well, it's time for Hellzapoppin. Yeah, da 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 da
a
Hellzapoppin.
musical comedy,
Yes.
and this one is very cartoony.
Yeah, yeah. This one, we probably would have recognized that we need to watch this one while doing our preliminary research. But like, I saw a, I was at an Alamo watching, and I had in the pre-show they had a clip from this movie with a bunch of devils. All it said in the corner, "Hellzapoppin 1941." So I was like, "Oh, this is something coming up." And
Mm.
then it's just a bunch of devils in hell, and they like squish people down into like a can, and then into like shove them into like an oil drum, and then put a thing on it that says "canned guy." And I'm like, watch this movie right now.
Yeah, incredible. That like opening scene is
Yeah,
maybe my favorite part of the movie. It has so many like really goofy, cartoony jokes in it.
yeah. It's almost a disappointment when this becomes like a real movie, because like the like wildness of the first like 15 minutes or so
Mhm.
is really, is honestly ahead of its time. Like this is a movie that the beginning of this movie feels like stuff that it's going over stuff that would not be explored comedically until the 70s with like
Mm.
Airplane or Blazing Saddles or something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
does. It does have a very similar. Yeah, I definitely was reminded a bit of yeah, like Mel Brooks and Zucker Brothers a bit. Also, Beetlejuice with the sort of like vision of hell kind of, and it being a lot of just like guys in costumes like poking people.
Yeah. I one of the things that I love are the ways that filmmakers choose to depict hell in movies. I'm always
Mm,
fascinated by
yeah,
that.
which also is a thing that, as we've seen, started very early, like almost right away. Like we can make movies. We're making movies about hell.
Yeah, I mean, I like Méliès would have loved this movie. he
He
would have he would
absolutely would
have
have. Yeah, he would have gone nuts for it. Also, a lot of meta jokes, a lot of like rewinding the movie, yelling at the projectionist.
Yeah, like
This is really
that's
the Deadpool of 1941 for sure.
the Deadpool, or let's not sully it by calling it the Deadpool of 1941. Like, let's call it the Mel Brooks of 1941.
Yeah, that is
Like this
a much
is
nicer comparison to make, I think.
like this has got the Spaceballs were playing the copy
Mhm.
of the movie that you're seeing right now kind of
Yeah,
thing in it. It's
yeah.
got uh the Blazing Saddles like bursting out onto the studio lot kind of energy. it's
Mhm.
it's the meta humor in this feels incredibly relevant, incredibly, uh, you know, you mentioned Deadpool. It's like we're still entertained by this same type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and this is from what, 80 years ago.
Mhm.
They have meta scenes where they talk to the projectionist. There are scenes with Shemp Howard as the
Mhm.
projectionist that were added in later, because
Oh, huh.
the original kind of joke was that the person was just talking to the literal projectionist in the actual theater, and then like you're just assuming what's going on up there as they're like calling up behind you in the theater. But I think they found that might be a little too confusing, and so they added in scenes with the
It's funny
actual
because
projectionist.
that feels very like vaudevillian to me. Of like trying to
Mm,
actually like people in the movie are talking to the project like the actual projectionist in the theater,
yeah,
and
it's
it's
breaking the fourth wall in a lot of
yeah.
kind of significant ways.
But it's also interesting how much I feel like there's a lot of like vaudeville crossover in like the Marx Brothers movies, and I don't know, in my opinion, especially the early ones, a lot of it doesn't really work as a movie, like as a movie joke. It's like, damn, this probably would have killed on stage. But as a movie,
Yeah,
it kind of falls flat. Whereas that is an interesting thing that it's like started as more of a directly addressing, like directly breaking the fourth wall, and then like, well, we have to actually film scenes of the projections for this joke to land.
yeah, but I mean, if you were to compare it, the the meta kind of stuff it uses the film language a lot more here.
Mhm.
There's literal like like proto mystery science theater in
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's yeah, I think that like this is another case like the Marx Brothers where it was something that was on stage and being adapted to the screen. And because they're extremely meta, they're like, this is worked on stage. How is it going to work in the movies? You know,
Mhm.
they're
Yeah.
hanging a lampshade on the entire existence of this movie.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of, like there's, like, a Hays Code joke, there's, like, another sort of, like, any similarity text at the beginning that's, like, done in a funny way that we've seen it in, like, a couple other things. Not the same
yeah,
joke, but, like, I feel like people are, like immediately once that text started showing up on things, people were, like, doing riffs on it, which is kinda funny. Stepping on a rake joke in this movie and that made me think. I'm sure Simpsons writers love this movie so much. And the other thing it did remind me of is like Simpsons humor. I think I can see the sort of lineage of in this.
yeah. Whoa.
Oh,
Is there
sorry,
a foghorn
there's
next
an
to you?
ocean liner outside my window.
um,
I think it's done.
one of the kind of this is amongst so much like madcap stuff. But there's like a part where uh, a taxi cab arrives in hell, and like assumedly like they all crashed and died at the same time, and so the cab went into hell with them. And there's like a pretty good like subtle joke where the guy goes like, the taxi driver went straight to where I told him to. Uh, uh, there's also like, they mentioned the Hayes Code. They mentioned like they mentioned the Hayes office specifically in this
Mm,
movie.
yeah.
There's a part in the beginning where like somebody gets like sucked into a hell hole, and then like a fountain of blood like spurts out of the ground, which
Well,
I
it's
thought
like
was like,
it's supposed to be oil, I think, but because it's
oh, is it?
black liquid, it looks like
Hmm.
blood, and it is a kind of thing where like, damn movie, it's gonna have a spray of blood shooting out. But I think they probably got away with it by being it's oil. Don't worry about
Oh, also, like you mentioned The Simpsons, like there is a part that I'm realizing now must be like a specific direct reference in The Simpsons where they go like, "That's good. That's bad. That's good.
it.
That's bad."
Yeah, it is for a movie that I like. I knew existed, but I really knew almost nothing about before I watched it. I'm really surprised at how seemingly like even in just like vibes, how influential it seems like it has been. I don't know how much it has directly influenced Mel Brooks or like Sucker Brothers or Simpsons or any of that, but it's like it feels like such a like proto version of all of those things.
This movie, yeah, I mean, honestly, this movie makes them, the Zucker brothers and Mel Brooks, feel less creative than I think people give them credit for.
H.C. Potter was doing it all first.
That being said, like there's so much good stuff in this movie, good like madcap meta humor in this movie in the first 15 minutes, and then it slows a lot down. They're like,
Yeah,
This can't be the whole movie, I guess. We don't have the energy to make it the whole movie, and
right. Yeah, the first 15 minutes are like incredibly packed with jokes, like very airplane style. Just like there's so many jokes happening, like overlapping with each other, and then it does kind of slow down and become a bit more of a fairly sort of Marx Brothers esque sort of like,
yeah,
well, a bunch of guys, we got to go to a fancy like not a nightclub, but like a I don't know resort, I guess.
I think it's
And there's
like a
like
mansion that has its own stage theater,
yeah,
uh, but yeah, and cause some chaos is basically what they're doing, a la Marx Brothers.
yeah. There's also like a class. I feel like another kind of classic comedy bit of like we're putting on a show, and then
Yeah,
they try to sabotage the
certainly a
show.
classic musical bit.
They try to sabotage the show and make it all go bad and for goofy stuff to happen. And then like, oh, we're gonna like the producers are here. They're gonna see it, and the producers love it because it's so funny and everything's getting messed up. And, like nothing's going to according to plan. Good bit. Good joke. Good joke. I think we should talk about the dancing in this movie, which is the only part of it that I had seen If
You'd
I
seen that
was,
before?
I think I had seen at least like I don't think I'd seen the whole scene, but I'd seen at least like a clip or something. Because that was like
Hmm.
the only thing I knew about this movie is that it had dancing in it.
What do you have to say about the dancing? I can't really think of what to say.
I mean, I think it is. It's a great like showcase for really talented dancers. It is the only place in the movie where black people exist, and it's just kind of like
Oh,
we're gonna cut away to this like crazy dance number now, and then cut back, and it's like it'd be nice if they were actual characters in the movie too. But you
oh
know,
yeah, I forgot about that. That dance scene was so good.
yeah,
I did completely forget about that. Yeah. They yeah, I mean at least the characters are kind of looking on approvingly from the side, right?
it feels like it. I don't know if it's really progressive for 1941, but at least is like they're like getting black performers in a movie that isn't completely segregated. Like you get your own movie over here, like. But
Yeah,
it definitely stuck out to me that it's like they are not characters in the movie. They like show up for one scene, do a cool dance, and then are never seen
right. Yeah. But the dance, oh my god.
again.
It's got so much energy. It is a really incredible kind of I don't know how would you characterize it? It's like a swing dance, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's swing dancing before white people ruined it.
It's before white people
I don't think they win
add
on it.
electro to it.
Yeah, but right. It's like that is like how swing dancing started. And
Mhm.
so this is like real proper swing dancing, which is like actually swinging people around and like throwing them up in the air. Which still, I think if you go to like places that actually have like swing dancing competitions and stuff, they still go pretty hard. They still do the throwing people around and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything about the plot of this movie because it's just
It
like
kind of
I don't
doesn't.
know. It's just
It barely has one. There's like
yeah,
yeah. I also watched this one a while ago too, so it's even harder to remember the plot. But the plot really does feel like an excuse for jokes to happen.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's so threadbare. It's so like just 1940s comedy setup of like some mismatched people show up in a place. What's gonna happen?
yeah. I will say also that like there's a lot about this movie that must have been quite edgy for the time.
I think so. Yeah.
Like not just like all of the hell stuff and maybe a blood fountain, maybe not, but like there's like a whole the plot centers around this kind of mistake, or a lot of the plot centers around this mistake that people the misunderstanding about like oh he was in like she was up in his room until 4 in the morning, and they keep like talking about that, and they
Ooh.
were like who was in whose room, who was it, and like they are more or less just saying it. They're more or less just
Mhm.
alluding to a hookup situation. But it's one of the more direct references to sex, honestly, that like I've seen, and they seem to get away with it okay, just because they were like, yeah, they were in the room together until 4 in the morning.
Mhm. But it's kind of an example also of like Hays Code is dumb. Like you can talk around that stuff so easily, and it's like it doesn't. You're not making the movie any really less explicit. Like
Yeah,
other than just saying like right. There's a bunch of pre-code movies where they just say sex in the dialogue, which they probably can't do now. But
yeah.
otherwise, it's like not a lot has really changed. I guess another example, I guess, right of the sort of like pre-code and Hays Code thing being a lot blurrier than I kind of expected it.
There are a couple other things that I feel like I need to mention about this movie. What one is there's a part where someone says he's very rich, and then someone says wait till he pays his income tax, and that just seems like it seems like a joke, like a just kind of general joke about like taxes, am I right? But I actually learned only a couple weeks ago listening to a podcast that income tax was like new then.
Mm.
It was a topical joke about the recent introduction of a kind of income tax. Let me get this right. It was income tax had kind of existed for the wealthy, but most people like did not pay it. Like almost nobody paid
Mm.
income tax because they were in a low enough bracket that it didn't exist. And that
Now
year,
it's the opposite.
uh,
Now rich people don't pay income tax, but poor people do.
correct. But like that year, as part of like funding the war effort and all that kind of stuff, like there was the introduction of an income tax that it expanded to a whole bunch of other people who no longer paid it. And so it was like, look at this thing that the government is doing
Mhm.
now. It's making you pay income tax. Uh,
FDR with his crazy leftist policies making us pay taxes.
the other incredibly topical and almost beyond Zucker brothers, almost getting toward like the Zucker brothers imitators of like Meet the Spartans and Epic
Oh
Movie
no.
or whatever, is uh is that in the beginning of the movie they are walking through a bunch of film sets and then they bump into a sled that says Rosebud, and then they go it's
Spoilers.
and then they go, I thought they burnt that.
In case you were wondering at what point in 1941 this movie came out, definitely after Citizen Kane.
Yeah, but that's wild.
That is,
They are
yeah.
spoiling the big twist of a movie that came out that year, like a few
Yeah.
months before, you know. But like it was such a big thing. Everybody saw Citizen Kane. Everybody knew it. They could just go like, "Hey, remember the sled burning at the end of Citizen Kane?"
Yeah. Yeah, that
That
is
was
it is
wild. That was wild.
yeah. Yeah, that is right, because it's like even right, a lot of these other kind of really wacky comedies don't tend to have a lot of like direct parodies of other movies and like
Mhm.
things like that. So
Or at least like stuff that we have recognized. Maybe like
right,
if
maybe
you
they do. They're all going over our heads. Yeah.